Hello and welcome to The Pitch. My name is Chris Conway. On today's episode, we're sitting down with Macquarie Asset Management's Benjamin Leung, who is the head of the Systematic Investments team. Ben, thanks so much for joining us on today's episode of The Pitch.
Well, thank you for having me.
Of course. Now, whether fundamental or technical analysis or relying heavily on data, all investors are looking for an edge. What sort of edge does a systematic approach provide?
That's an interesting question. I do think that there's something unique with the systematic approach, and you're right. I think it'd be remiss to say that no other investors use data. But what systematic brings in that context is a number of things. At scale, for our investment process, for every investment decision, is looking at a huge amount of data. I had a quick look at our database that's coming here. We're utilizing 30 billion data points as we make an investment decision for our clients. Second thing, it's probably robustness. Our process and our principle is very much about eliminating noise and focusing on what is statistically important, and making sure that we're clearing the weeds and narrowing on what actually influence investors' behavior in delivering excess return. And then lastly, I think which is really important in our systematic process is that the mindset of, evolution. Every single moment of market experience, whether that be COVID or GFC, whether we're outperforming or underperforming, helps us refine that playbook. And ultimately, our mission here is to create a playbook that has probabilistic views, but also one that is up to date with current investor behavior.
You've talked about assembling data being a greater value add than any silver bullet super signal. Can you just explain why that is the case, and then how you go about sorting the important data from the less important data?
I was thinking about analogies as how to, relate that to our listeners. And if I think about it as a Lego set, each one of those factors is a Lego brick, and each Lego brick is pretty unimpressive. But of course, there's valuable bricks or special bricks. You know, where Lego creates value and why you pay a premium for it is ultimately in the art and craft of bringing those bricks together to create a model. And in the same way, each factor is only one piece of the puzzle. What is ultimately valuable is the insight and the meaning that we're able to derive from the signals to create a cohesive story and cohesive understanding of how the market's functioning that enables us to actually think about how investors will behave going forward. And as you alluded to, we've spent 30 years looking for these bricks and then refining our recipes to create realistic models. And we've got a very refined process of how we do that. But if I distill that to, one or two axioms which I can share, ultimately it comes down to two things. When you receive a new piece of information, first of all, you have to assess whether it's actually material. I think we often forget that not all information is relevant. There's so much information coming at all of us. And then secondly, is it actually predictable? Is there evidence of it being predictive and that people are able to predict it? And if you are saying yes to both of those, that is when you have found something that might be informative to your process. Otherwise, we found that the evidence indicates that it's just simply noise.
Ben, as an adult fan of Lego, I very much appreciate that example. Thank you. Let's talk about alpha decay. Is there a need to constantly refresh existing edges and then, of course, hunt for new ones at the same time as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Using the same Lego analogy, bricks get old and then you need to replace it. Using the same Lego analogy, you built what you thought looked like a car 5 years ago, and of course it doesn't look like a car today. And you need to constantly update the model to reflect, current market dynamics. We feel that investor behavioral biases and fundamentals are pretty persistent. But how they express themselves in the prevailing market environment is just as critical. And therefore, we spend a lot of time, sharpening the edge. And in the same way that a fundamental investor would go about looking for new investment ideas, my team is looking for new strategies, new data sources, new way to implement, new ways to construct a portfolio to really keep that edge sharp.
Ben, what sort of alpha has a systematic approach been able to deliver since you've been running the strategy?
You can see our track record online, and then Livewire yourself has done a piece on the batting average and the consistency of the outcome which we've been able to generate. And we deploy the strategy, the systematic strategy, across a whole range of investment universes in Australia, in developed markets, in emerging markets, up and down the risk spectrum, and we've seen the same features play out.
Ben, thanks so much for sitting down with Livewire today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
If you enjoyed that episode of The Pitch as much as I did, make sure to give it a like and don't forget to follow our YouTube channel because we're adding lots of great content every single week.